and I will be posting it to YouTube and sending you guys out a link via PDS later on today or tomorrow, depending upon how PDS behaves today and how many of you and your colleagues are on there at the same time. So that's something that I will get out to you guys. I will record it so you can watch it again and again. And when I'm sending those out, I'm sending out the links to actually all the web chats I've done this week, which has been an average of 3 to 4 a day. So there's plenty of archives out there for you guys to look through and to find the various features. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through every feature of Zoom and how you can use it as a classroom teacher. Not every feature will be applicable to you. Some of them you may not want to use. That's okay. It's good to be aware of what's available and what you can do with this program. So first of all, I want to start by saying that Zoom, if you sign up for a free account normally on Zoom, what they call a basic account, you would get an ability to have a meeting with up to 100 people and up to a 40-minute time limit. Now, that's okay for most things that we do, but for me, I teach part-time at Florida Southern College, online most of it, and so when I go and do a chat with my students and 40 minutes comes up, boom, we're cut off. And so I have to go start a new call. And so about a year ago, Florida Southern gave me what's called a pro account, which allows me to have 300 people in the chat and no time limit on my calls. What Zoom has done for school districts between now and the end of July is giving you an upgraded account with no time limit. You still have the 100 people max, but no time limit. And I'll show you where all the information is when we go into that piece. The second thing I want to point out to you early and up front is you want to write down the word FERPA. It's an acronym, F-E-R-P-A, FERPA. It's the Privacy Rights Act for students. It's the reason you have to have all those forms filled out at the beginning of the year. And it's the reason why we're going to recommend that you not turn on student videos, especially when you're recording and posting it online. Now, I'll give you some options around that later on. I understand you elementary folks, your kiddos want to see each other. You want to see them. I get it. You may turn the video on for a little while and say, hi, how are you? And that's okay, but make sure it is off if you're going to record and post. In addition, I'd recommend you record every chat that you guys do as an archive, just as when you guys send emails through EDSB and or First Class, it's archived. That's for your protection, for your records, in case somebody come back and question something you may have done. So again, recording things are very, very important as well. So I'm going to share a bunch of screens with you from my computer. I'm going to show you a lot of what I see from my side and how each of the menus work. What I'm going to start out with, though, is a window in a web browser, and we're going to be going into the Clever website. So this is the place where you want to go to access your upgraded Zoom account through the school district, and all you're going to do is log in as a teacher. This page was added about 2 days ago, where it now gives you reminders about how to log in. So you click Login Active Directory, and then it is going to be your Lawson number at hcps.net, and then your same district password. This is the same login you guys would use for Office 365, Lawson number at hcps.net. So I'm going to log in. I'm going to go in as a teacher, and it's going to bring me to my Clever dashboard. This is my dashboard. And so the nice thing about the dashboard is it has a favorite section up here at the top. And so I favorited lots of apps last year when I was at James Elementary teaching 5th grade math and science. iReady, Khan Academy, Common Lit, Typing Club for my kiddos. I did that kind of thing. I've also recently favorited Zoom. Now, if you haven't done that, you can find Zoom on your Clever dashboard by scrolling to the bottom of the page where you see more apps. And in more apps, you'll see it says Zoom. And if you want it to become a favorite, all you do is click on a little heart up in the right-hand corner. So I've done that now, and Zoom is up here at the top for me. You will also find on this page e-learning for school closure resources. And this one is changing daily. They're adding new stuff, new information. This is where your content supervisors are sending you resources and information and lessons that you can use with your students while we're in this closure. This will continue to be a resource from now until we go back to school, whether that's in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, or sometime next school year, we don't know. Right now, we're still out through April 15th, so we need to provide something for our students for the next few weeks until the governor determines whether we're going to go back or not at the middle of April. So I'm going to click on Zoom. It'll take me directly to my account. If you have not yet done this, you may get a prompt, one of two prompts when you click this link. One says, do you want to merge your account with Troy Suarez? The other says, do you want to merge your account with HCPs? Either one of those is going to be a yes for you because Troy Suarez is our supervisor in instructional technology, and he is the one who set this up for us. But I know some recent folks have emailed me just last night and said theirs didn't say Troy Suarez, theirs says HCPS, which is Hillsborough County Public Schools. So yes, you want to merge your account, and that's going to give you this green box up here at the top. Notice my time limit has been lifted. So I have an unlimited time limit. This is my district account. I still have 100 people per call, but I have an unlimited time limit. So that's this dashboard piece here. There are 3 things I want to show you on this website and 3 areas to go into. The first one is the meetings tab over on the left-hand side. On the left side, you can see I've scheduled several meetings in my school district account as I've gone and done this training many times. But to schedule a meeting, all you do is click on Schedule New Meeting. You can give your meeting a name. I'm going to call it My Fake Meeting. I think it's number 7 now, and you can laugh at me all you want, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been doing this this is the 6th day in a row. I do nothing but Zoom chats all day long. I live, eat, sleep, dream Zoom. I had a dream about Zoom last night. Fortunately, it went well. It wasn't a nightmare, so we're good on that one. You can set the date of when you want your chat to be. So like mine's going to be on Sunday again. You can set the time. I'll make it at 2 p.m., and then you can set the duration of it. Now, of these 3 options, the only one that matters most is the date. The other 2 are more of calendaring items. So for example, we were set up for 8:30 this morning, but I was on at 8:15 and admitted Alice and Jonathan before you guys came in at 8:30. So you can start it early. There is an option to do that, I'll show you, but this is more to make sure your calendar doesn't get overloaded with multiple meetings. We're all in the Eastern time zone, so we're not changing that. This next feature, though, might be useful to a lot of you, called the recurring meeting. Let's say you want to have office hours for your students every afternoon from 1 to 2 where they can pop in to ask questions. And you don't want to keep sending a new link every day. Now, I've got 4 of these things today, so I sent out 4 different invite links. But if I was doing the same meeting every day, I would do recurring meeting, send it out one time, and every day I could open up that same meeting and my student would come in and out and see me if they need to. Or let's say I want to have a first period class at 9:30 if I'm a middle school teacher, or I want to have math at 9 o'clock if I'm an elementary teacher. I can do the same thing, recurring meeting, have it happen once a week, once a day, however often you want. It gives you those options. Meeting ID, I don't change this. I leave it on generate automatically. I use meeting passwords, and I'm going to tell you, my wife showed me an article this morning I hadn't seen, but apparently there are crazy stalker people out there combing for Zoom meetings. So I would definitely use a password. I wasn't saying that yesterday, but after what I saw this morning, I would definitely have a password enabled. It wasn't in our county. It was somewhere else in the nation, because obviously everybody's on Zoom now as we're all home. So I would definitely use the password feature. Video. I talked about video earlier. By default, this is what the video setting would be, off and off. Off for you, the host, and off for your participants. Today, I went like this because I wanted to have the videos of you guys so I could see your smiling faces and see when you laugh at me, which, by the way, doesn't bother me at all. However, if I'm going to do this with students and record their faces, I'm going to click off so I'm not recording their faces. This means that their cameras will be off and they can't turn them on unless I want them to. This means they can turn them on and off if they want to. So again, I can control this feature ahead of time. Now, I know what some of you are saying. Okay, Scott, I'm going to go on for 10 minutes with the kids and say, hi, how are you? I missed you. I hope you missed me, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to turn them off. There is a way to turn off the cameras once you're in the chat, and I will show you that when we get to that point. So I'm going to leave mine as both on. Audio, you want to leave this as both. And actually, I got this question this morning. Can I call into this chat? Yes, you can. If you notice in the link I sent you guys, you can go on your computer by clicking the link, or there's a phone number you can call in and listen to the chat. You may have some students who lose power, don't have internet, anything like that. They could call in with a telephone and listen to the chat and not necessarily be able to see things, but it's a benefit. Also, I've had a few folks the last couple days who say they have those lovely Lenovo ThinkPads that apparently are notorious for bad microphones. In that case, you could use your computer for the video and call in with your telephone for audio if that is something that happened to you. Meeting options. This one right here, enable join before host. No, never, don't do it. Don't ever click on that one. That would allow your students to be in the chat before you. Can you imagine your 5 or 6 kiddos who are early risers, because like 5 of you were in here before I got in this morning, and you were in there having a conversation without me to monitor it? That would be a bad idea. Bad idea. Mute participant on entry. I always click this one. This is why you came in already muted. And so if you're going to have 24, 25 kids come in at one time, you definitely want them muted, so then I'll go and blah, 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 blah. as they come in. Enable waiting room. There's some debate over this feature. I have used it in all my chats because that puts you guys in that waiting room. I was able to send you a message ahead of time till you came in. Some folks believe that students can communicate inside the waiting room. I've not seen it yet. This one's entirely up to you. I won't give you an option here or there. Again, I've used it for my chats, but you guys are all adults, so it's a little bit different story. Authenticated users, I don't use that one because I don't need that option. Although, you may change some things up depending upon you. We'll talk about breakout rooms later. And then down at the bottom, the record feature. So this one here, if you want to make sure all your meetings record, you would click this box. But then again, if you do that, you definitely don't want to have student videos on if you're going to post it. So that's something to think about here if you are going to post your videos. I'll talk about some options later on about that. I've got my training set up. I'm going to hit save. It's going to bring me to my meeting summary page. This is my meeting summary page. And you can see here's my fake meeting 7. Here's my calendar information, the meeting ID, the password. And then I've got a link for folks to join, and I can copy my invitation. When I click on that, notice I get an invitation, it has all the information, and I can copy the meeting invitation. I can post it in EDSB. I can send an email out with it. I can send it to my teammates to have a meeting together, anything like that. What I do recommend on the invitation, though, is see where it says dial by your location. Everything below here is really not useful. All they need is the stuff above this dial by your location. So you can delete that stuff at the bottom and just send out this information at the top. I'm going to hit cancel real quick. And notice here's the rest of my information about my meeting. So if I wanted to change any settings right now, I could click on edit this meeting and change them. I can also click start this meeting from here and start my meeting. So that's the dashboard area you want to go to. And if I go back to all my meetings, you can see I now have 7 fake meetings set up for Sunday. I better cancel them. I'm going to be very, very busy, as you guys can see. I can start them from here. I can delete them from here. I can click on them to open up their details. So that's the meetings tab. The next tab I want to show you is the settings tab over here on the left. There are a lot of settings. I have left mine as the defaults. I did that so you can see what it looks like if you do nothing. So for example, if you always wanted to have student video off, it's set up that way. If you always wanted your video on, you click that to on, blue is on, and that would mean your video would always be on. Down here, the telephone piece, the join before, these are all the same settings we just went over, but now they're in a place where you can set it as default for you. Now again, I've not modified mine, so I can show you each setting. Mine is as a default, as if you just got a brand new account. You can see lots of other opportunities here for things. There's a few other ones I want you to see. Here's that mute participants on entry. If you turn this one on, every call you set up will have participants muted automatically. So that's something you can set up ahead of time and not have to remember, oh, did I mute them upon entry? Okay. Down here, the chat feature. If you want to turn off the chat feature because you're not sure your students can be mature enough on the chat feature. I'm talking about not just middle school, by the way, high school and even some elementary kids. All right. You could turn this off right away if you wanted to, but there's other advanced chat features I'll show you inside the chat as well. Right here, private chat. Notice it's off by default. Definitely want this one off. You don't want kids private messaging each other. That could be really, really bad. Down here a little bit further, you've got co-host. Let's say you're a co-teacher. You could turn on the co-host feature and invite someone to have control with you. Now today, Alice and Jonathan are just participants like you guys. I have unmuted them so they can talk, but they don't have control of the chat. They can't change features and things like that. Next big one right here is screen sharing. This one is huge, ladies and gentlemen. There were 2 incidents earlier this week about students sharing inappropriate content. This is where they did it. So you need to make sure you click host only and save. When you do that, when you click host only and save, what that does for you is it means only you can share your screen. In the classes we had issues in, I'm going to put it back where mine was, we had students sharing inappropriate content through this piece. By the way, if some person that's not in your class finds your chat and gets into it somehow, you having this also means they would not be able to share any information on yours. There's a virtual whiteboard we're going to talk about, an annotation we'll talk about, but you can turn off those settings in here if you don't want them accessible. So a lot of things are that way. And the last setting I want to show you guys is right here, the breakout room. This is kind of like, you know, you're going to go to Publix today and you didn't bring your wallet or any money and you found toilet paper, but you can't buy it because you don't have any money. They don't take like, oh, I'll come back and bring you money later, right? So later you go back to the grocery store and you have your wallet, but they only have that cheap one-ply toilet paper that's in our schools, right? And you don't want to buy that stuff, okay? So you have an option. At least you had your money. So right here, if you turn this on and don't want to use it, that's great. If you don't turn this on and decide, ooh, I want to use that, and you're already in the chat, no can do. There's no option to do it later. So I leave mine on as an option in case I want to do it. I'll show you some ways to use breakout rooms later on, especially those of you with either co-teachers or paras or good parent volunteers is the way you might be able to use this piece. I used it last night with my college students I teach at HCC. But again, those are adults, different piece than working with kids. I'm going to scroll back to the top. And the last thing I want to show you right now is the resources tab up here at the top where it says download Zoom client. Now you may be saying to yourself, Scott, what's a client? Why do I need that? I want you to think about our Ideas email account. So some of you probably access your district email account via a web browser. What I mean is Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Safari. You might go in that way. If you do, you've probably noticed some of the features are not accessible to you. You can't get into PDS. You can't do certain features in that if you're in a web browser. If you've downloaded the free client software, the first class software, and installed it on your computer, you get access to PDS and all the features the program has. Well, this Zoom thing is the same way. If you use the web browser, which you can, and some of you might be doing that right now, that's okay. It can work. But if you want all the features available to you, you need to download the Zoom client. Now, there is a Zoom client also for Android and iPhone, iOS. So it's on the App Store and the Play Store. You can download that as well. When you go to host meetings, here is my advice again. Right now, I'm clicking out of the active window. My computer has multitasking, so obviously I'm still moving. I'm not frozen. You can see and hear me. If I was on my iPad, and I've done this a couple times with my students at Florida Southern, and the first time I did it, I didn't know it was going to happen. So I went and did a Zoom chat on my iPad because I was out of town. I'm doing this. Okay, guys, let me get a document I'm going to share with you. The second I left the active window of Zoom, my face got frozen like this. The next time I did, I got frozen like this. So that's something to realize when you're on a tablet or a phone, that it can't truly multitask. And so I had to learn every time I use my iPad, I got to do like this before I leave the chat. And then, of course, they'll keep me smiling as opposed to anything else. So just some advice for you guys in that process of where we're going. All right, I'm going to bring you guys back together. And right now, what you're probably seeing is one of two views. You are either seeing what we call the, and I'm going to come back to that piece in a minute. You're either seeing a view like this. This is called the speaker view, where I am probably very large in your screen when I'm on that main window and not sharing with you. Or you're seeing something called the gallery view, which looks either like this. This was Carrie and I a couple days ago, or like this, a chat I did the other day. If you were seeing the gallery view, it looks like the Brady Bunch. And that's an easier view for you to look at. And to toggle that piece, if you're on a computer or a Mac or PC, up at the top right-hand corner, you've got a speaker view toggle with gallery view. If you're on a mobile device, it's probably in the top left-hand corner of your screen. While I'm on here real quick, just so you know, this is that page again where you go to log in. So when you click Clever to go into Clever, you'll get this login. That's your Lawson number at hcps.net. And then this is the EDSB dashboard. And I know you middle and high school teachers have more experience with EDSB than the elementary folks who've only been using it really for grades, but now you're using it for a lot. This is called the dashboard, the gradebook dashboard, and this is the feed. So when you're in the feed, you could take that link we just showed you on the website, paste it right here, pick which class you want to go to, and hit share. And then that class will get that link. You can also click over here where your students are and email them. Now, if the parents are also attached and the parents have an account, which I know not every parent has done that, but if they have and gotten in, the parents will be able to log into your Zoom chat as well. I'm thinking of you primary folks specifically where, you know, maybe mom or dad can't work from home every day like some of us are doing right now, but they still want to be on the chat for a few minutes when their little boy or girl is going on there. You could email it to them as well because parents can't see the feed, but they can see when you email them in the student section. I mentioned earlier a couple different options for recording your Zoom sessions. Some teachers are going and recording with no audience. In other words, they're setting up a meeting like my fake meetings for on Sunday, and they're going in and they're doing everything they would do with kids there, but there's no kids there. They're recording it. Then they're posting it, and they're putting it in here for all their kids to see. Another option for you. All right, so back to our gallery view. I'm gonna go over some menus with you now. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because I want you to see my menus. So this is the host view. This is what I see, not necessarily what you see. I am using the app, the Zoom app. I'm on my Mac, so of course I use dark mode, and so things look dark, but I have a combination, ladies and gentlemen, of both Windows and Mac screens, so you can see it looking both ways. First of all, over on the left-hand side, you all should have a mute and a stop video button. These controls are for your audio and your video only. They are only for your device. They don't control your students, your participants, colleagues, anybody else on there with you. This is only about your controls for both your audio and your video. Next, you got the invite button. This is in case you started your chat, forgot to send somebody that invite and don't know where you left it. You can click on invite and get the same link again and add somebody back to it. Manage participants. This is where you can manage who is in your chat. Now, your piece says participants because you're a participant. Mine says manage participants. And this is that window, by the way, over here, manage participants. Notice in this call, we had 91 people. Right now, we're sitting at 168. So we're a little bit bigger than we were on this call. Real quick on this window, though, you see the red line through the microphone? That means the microphone is off. Red line through the camera means the camera is off. If you turn them off, they cannot turn them on. If you turn them on, they have an option of turning themselves off and on as you go. And so like with cameras, I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to have that meet and greet with your kiddos for 10 minutes and then turn cameras off, this is where you do it in the Manage Participants window. I just click that and it turns their camera off. You can also see me, I'm the host, and I am recording, so you have that little record button there. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. The next button is a share screen button. We'll talk a lot about that today. We're also going to talk a lot about the chat feature, the next button over there. Recording. Let's say you didn't set up recording ahead of time. You will have a record button here. All you gotta do is click it, and you want to save the recording to your device. You don't want to save it to the cloud. It's a lot easier to work with if it's on your device. Next, you have the breakout room feature. Again, like I mentioned before on the website, if you click that button, it will be here. It doesn't mean you have to use it. If I turn that button off, this piece would not be there at all. And then I have a reactions button, kind of like emojis. There's a thumbs up and a clapping emoji for kiddos if they want to put a reaction to something. Like maybe you told them their answer was right and they want to all clap for each other, and they can do something like that in emoji. And then finally, the end meeting button. When I'm done, I click end meeting and we are out of here. All right, so those are all my menus, and now I'm going to take you through each one individually. So this first view for you is a Windows view. Notice the lighter background, and this is looking at the mute button. So there's a lot of these buttons have a plus arrow next to them, an up arrow next to them. When I click on that up arrow, I get all these settings. So for example, I see some of you are wearing a headset with a microphone on it. If you chose that option, you'd have to select that here and select the microphone. I've not done that. I only have the one microphone on my computer. Same thing with speakers. If you used internal, external speakers. Some laptops today have really, really crummy speakers. You may want to connect to an external speaker. That's where you do it. You may want to test your speaker and microphone. Again, same place here. And so you've got a lot of different settings here for your audio. The next button is the video button. This is my Mac view again. And as you can see, I only get 3 options. Which camera do I want? My computer only has 1 camera. But if your computer had more than 1 camera, or your tablet or phone had more than 1 camera, you may get a choice of multiple cameras to look through here. We'll talk about virtual background in a minute, and I'll show you how it works. And then your video settings. This is the Mac version, and here is the Windows version. Look at this. It's almost identical, except they flipped video settings and choose virtual background. So again, same thing. I'm going to stop my share, bring you guys back, and I'm going to change my virtual background for you so you can kind of see how it works. Let's see, where do I want to go today? I am going, oh, this is Epcot, because I love to be at Disney. This is Epcot at night at sunset. So there we go. I'm sitting in front of Epcot now. So virtual backgrounds are really cool, but you need to know 2 things about virtual backgrounds. Number 1, your computer may not be new enough or fast enough to handle this feature. It'll tell you that when you try to do it. And you have to download the client software to do this. So you can't do it via the website. You have to download the client software to make this feature work. So that is first and foremost on this piece. Second thing, depending upon what you are wearing and the color of the wall behind you, your method may work or not. I had a poor lady on Monday with us. Her shirt was the same color as the wall behind her. She went and became a floating head. Okay, her whole body disappeared. All right. Worse though, on Wednesday, this one poor lady, her face was so pale it matched the wall behind her. And so when she did the virtual background, all I saw was her hair and her shirt. So that was really freaky. So make sure you test this feature out before you do it. If you can see Jonathan's picture, you'll see he's blending in the background right now, and you see only part of his face. As I even move my hands, you see it has difficulty sometimes trying to keep up with that movement. But again, play around with it. Some of it's lighting. So for example, if I turn off my front lighting, actually I'm lucky it's still working for me, but this poor lady yesterday had no front lighting and she was the background. She was the background. So the virtual background was her and everything else behind her, you can still see the room she was in. For me, it's kind of neat because I've been locked in this room all day, every day for the last week and a half working on this stuff for you guys. And so I like having a virtual background. Now, if you want to use a virtual background, I'm going to share back with you my windows. Give me just 1 second. And we'll go back to our screenshots. This is what that virtual window looks like when you open it up. Again, this is on my Mac. So this is what it looks like. It gives you what you currently are sitting in front of, and then it gives you an option of backgrounds. Now, some of these were stock photos that came with it. The Golden Gate Bridge, the grass, the earth. Then I added some other photos, like the Disney photos and other places I've been. This little plus symbol lets you add any photo you want. Two things about adding photos. They need to be landscape, number one. Number two, they got to be saved on your computer. So like you can download something from Google or anywhere else on the internet, or you can send one from your phone to your computer and do the same thing. So that's the virtual background piece. And again, once you select it, it goes. You can always come back and click on none and turn that feature off, which I do before every chat. So you guys see me in the room and then I show you it transforming. The next feature is the Manage Participants feature. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and so you can see my Manage Participants window. This is similar to what it looked like this morning when Alice and Jonathan and I were on before you guys. Notice there's a waiting room here, and that's where you guys were. And then Barb and I were in the chat on this one. Her camera was off. I was recording. Now, the neat feature about the waiting room, if you choose to use it, is that I can message everybody in there. If you were in there early enough, you got a message from me saying, we'll admit you shortly, your microphone will be muted. I can also admit you all at the same time, so I don't have to keep going admit, 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 admit. But the nice thing for me was that I could admit Jonathan and Alice early. We could talk about the chat before we got started. Down here at the bottom, I have two other features. I have a mute all, unmute all. So I can actually mute all of you at one time or unmute you all at the same time in one big button. So that's kind of a neat thing too if too many people have their mics on and are talking. In this next window, I've blown up the view a little bit for you. It's the same view, only I've clicked on the More Options tab. Now, this is really important you address this tab if you're going to do a chat with students. First of all, this is where if I forgot to do it when I set up my meeting, I can turn on Mute Participants on Entry. All I do is check it. Notice I unchecked Allow Participants to unmute themselves. Now, in my class last night with my students at HCC, I turned this feature on because there's only 13 of them and they're adults. I let them turn their mics on and off when they want to talk. All right, but for students, I'd probably have this off because I don't want them unmuting their mics now and then. Play, enter, exit chime. If you want to use that, that's fine. It just kind of plays a sound, kind of like a doorbell when someone's going in and out. Allow participants to rename themselves. I've done that for you guys. I would turn this feature off for students. I don't know about you, no matter what grade you teach, I taught 5th through 9th. I had many a student who would call themselves Doofus or some other inappropriate name. So do make sure you uncheck this for your students. Lock meeting is just you want to make sure nobody else can come in once you started. Now I think about that example that my wife showed me this morning of that student class where that stranger kept coming in and out. If you would click lock meeting after everybody you knew was supposed to be in is in, that would prevent that. They would not be able to come in. However, if somebody got kicked off because of their internet or power, they also wouldn't be able to come back in. So there is a both ways on that piece. And the last one here, put participants in waiting room on entry. Notice it's checked right now. After I clicked admit all, I turned this feature off so you guys were able to come in without sitting in a waiting room. So those of you who may have come in after, say, 8:30 when I started the chat, you didn't go to the waiting room because I unchecked this feature for you. Here is that same window again, only in Windows, of course. And again, similar menu, just different background, same pieces here. And notice I've not enabled the waiting room on this version of my program. So I don't have the waiting room option. The next feature is the raising hand feature. We'll come back to it in a second. I'm going to exit out here real quick. I want you guys to rename yourselves. And so if you are on a computer, you can hover over your name and click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and go to rename and rename yourself. Now, Mary Swindle, or Swindell, however it is, I'm sorry, I'm going to rename you so I can show them I have power over it too. Mary, are you Miss or Mrs.? Miss or Mrs.? Mrs.? Okay, got it. So you see, I can rename her to Mrs. Swindell and not have the students do it. So for example, I would rename this feature for myself to be Dr. Richmond when I'm in with students so they see the name they know me by. So you might do that for yourself. If you have turned off the students option in the menu we just looked at, you could then rename them as well, because you'll have the same 3-dot button in their upper right-hand corner where you can rename them and you can unrename them. So that's a neat feature you can do for naming students. There's also a feature for raising a virtual hand. So if you click on that participant button, either at the bottom or top of your screen, it may be in more at the top of your screen, it may be in the bottom of your screen, you'll get an option to raise your virtual hand. Another really neat feature, so for example, I'm going to look and see who's raised their hand and I can call on them. I'm looking for someone in my current screen because I have 7 screens of you guys. Let's see. Here's one. Mr. Gooden, I'm going to lower your hand. Unmute you. Hi, Mr. Gooden. How are you?
I'm doing good.
All right. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to mute you back up. All right. And then I've got another one here. Janice Farland. I'm going to lower your hand. Hi, Jan. Well, you got to let me unmute you, Janice. There you go. Hi, Janice. How are you?
Fine. How are you this morning?
Great. Thanks for being here. I'm going to close that back out. And I saw Kim, you raised your hand and took it down, so I'm not going to call on you. But Mrs. G, I'm going to lower your hand, unmute you. Hi, Mrs. G.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. I'm going to meet you back again. Okay. So as you can see, another neat feature. Now for me, I have 7 pages of you guys, so it's very hard for me to be able to look and see who's got their hand raised. But I'm thinking if you're doing this with one class of students, anywhere from 16 to 24, that's an option for you to use the virtual hand. And that's in the participants menu. Now again, mine says manage participants. And Melissa, you're looking at reactions and not participants and raise your hand. So if you click that, that's where you're going to go. Now somebody asked what I'm seeing when I look at that. I'm going to show you my screenshot. This is what I see when you raise your hand. I see a little hand up in your corner window and I hover over it and click lower hand. By the way, I also in this window would have a mute, unmute button here and the same 3-dot button you guys have here in the right-hand corner so that I can easily unmute or remute you. So that is the raise hand feature, again, in the participant button. It's either at the bottom of your screen or at the top of your screen in the more options section. All right, the next piece is going to be the chat feature. And so here is the chat feature empty. This is the chat with Barb and I again the other day. Notice I have a chat window. But when I go a little bit further in and I zoom into one we had active the other day, you can see here that I was private messaging Sam Weiss. Some of you might be private messaging me right now, and you're like, Scott has not responded to me. That's because I'm not monitoring the chat feature at all. I'm not looking at it except for that one person I responded to because it happened to pop up on my screen. What I am doing is I have 2 people monitoring it. So if you're sending to everyone like Miss Hickey and Mary are in this video, in this screenshot, then Jonathan or Alice can respond to you. If you are not doing it to everyone, doing privately to me, I'm not seeing it. Now, these little 3 dots here on the right-hand side of your chat feature is something you definitely want to check when you open your chat window with your students. Notice in here, there are 4 options for participants chatting. No one, host, everyone publicly, and privately. And this is a hierarchical menu, meaning that when you click on host, it's only host, meaning you could send a message to me and that's it. If you click everyone publicly, you can message everyone publicly and me. If you do this last one, you can message everyone publicly and privately. Bad idea. You don't want students messaging each other. And so I set all my chats up this way to everyone publicly. By the way, Zoom does save the chat feature. You can save the chat feature, and everyone publicly would be a great way to have it, because that way it would record all those pieces. That's important because my recording only records what I'm seeing. Here is that same window again, only in a Windows version. And again, the same little 3-dot button here and the same options. And again, I've selected everyone publicly. And that means that I'm going to be able to see all their messages and make sure nobody did something inappropriate. If they did, I can go and print that out or send an email to my principal. The next window is the share window. So this is the last big one because a lot of you are going to want to be doing sharing with your students. First of all, this is my Windows version of it. And when you open the share button, that's this green button here at the bottom, you can share your screen, a virtual whiteboard, any number of connected devices, even an Elmo, and open windows like Google Chrome was open here. Now in my Mac version, you can see I'm a Mac user, so there's a whole lot more windows open. I can share a browser window, I can share a PowerPoint, I can share Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, PDFs, virtual whiteboards, anything I have on my computer. There is one key fact though. You need to have that thing open. So I have opened everything up ahead of time. All these screenshots, I opened it before we even started our chat so that when I go to click share, all I do is click on that open window and boom, I'm done. I'm sharing it with you. Now, before I show you the whiteboard, I want you to see some settings that are really important. This is the little up arrow next to my share screen button. It gives me 3 options. One participant can share at a time, or they can share all at the same time. I leave it on the first button. But there is an advanced sharing feature. And when I click on that, I get this menu. Take a look at this real quick. Notice, same 2 features we just showed, but here's this big piece. Remember on the website, I told you to change this to host only? If you forgot to do that, you can still do it here in the chat and turn it on host only. This will prevent your students from sharing anything that's on their computer while you guys are doing it. So that's a really, really important piece. We're going to go into the virtual whiteboard now, and when we do, your screen will look something like this. Yours will say you are viewing Scott Richmond's screen and have a view options button. When you click on view options button, you will click on annotate. Clicking on annotate will allow you to write on the screen just as I did. So let me open that virtual whiteboard, and somebody already figured it out. That's fantastic. Notice I have a text tool, so I can write a problem out like this. I can solve the problem using a pen. I can put a check mark next to it. The student did it right. There's a whole bunch of features. I can question whatever this squiggle thing is and this squiggle thing here. So I'm going to let you guys play around for a couple of minutes, but I want to talk about this whiteboard and some interesting features regarding it. The one bad thing about the whiteboard is, unless like Amanda, you put a stamp out there with your name on it, I don't know who's writing. I don't know who's writing right now. I have no idea who it is. So you're going to have to implement some classroom management controls online. Now, I was on with a bunch of brand new teachers last night, I'm sorry, and I said to them, I understand. We just taught you guys how to teach, and now we're asking you to teach online. So I get it. But let's say I've got my virtual whiteboard open, and oops, by accident, I turned it off. Guess what? As long as I'm still in the same chat, it brings back everything I had up there before. It saves it in the background. Now I do have the option to save this whiteboard, and then I can clear it and we can start again. So a really, really neat feature. Now before I show the whiteboard, one of you found out that you could annotate any document I was sharing, and that is correct. So I'm first talking to you elementary teachers who are getting ready for your writing assessment that's supposed to be coming up, and now you're just all depressed that you're not going to have to give the writing assessment. Show me you're depressed. Even if your camera's off, show me you're depressed, all right? But imagine you're working on an opinion piece with your students. You put up the PDF of that opinion piece and you show them how to text mark the first paragraph. You underline, you check plus for for, and you underline, check minus for against. Then you say, okay, Janice, you do paragraph 2. Alice, you do paragraph 3. Jonathan, you do paragraph 4. And you can work on the document together. Also, math teachers, You could have a PDF of 8, 10, 12 math problems. You share that, write the kids' names next to who's going to do it, and they do the problem in real time in front of you. You could also bring up reading things that you guys can do together, science, social studies, reading, and you can work on things together in the virtual whiteboard. So a lot of options there for you to play around with. While I'm talking about this feature, and I brought you guys back, here's the thing. What if you played around with this with your colleagues? Go and set up a fake meeting later on today, and you and your colleagues or your friends go online and play around with all the features, see what they can do. That is the best thing to do. That's the best thing to do, is to go in and play around with things and figure out what happens. The nice thing about if you share a PDF and they write on it, it's not affecting the PDF at all, not affecting it at all. As far as students being able to share, right now I have that turned off. But if you forgot to do that and you left it on, like I'm going to turn it back on right now, I'm going to give you guys a chance to share something real quick. And I see my son grabbed it quickly, but you see I'm going to stop him very quickly because I can stop any participant from sharing. I remain in control of that even if I've forgotten to do that. So you have that option of sharing and not sharing. And again, that's in the share menu, which normally is in the middle of the bottom of your screen. It's a green button. So a lot of features there you can do, okay? And the virtual whiteboard is in the share screen option. So let me go back and show you guys my screenshots, and I'll show you exactly where that is. So notice up here, when I click on the share button, which is this thing here, here is the virtual whiteboard. Here it is again on my Mac. Here's the virtual whiteboard. It looks dark again because my Mac has dark mode on it. That's the only difference, okay? All right. The last feature I want to show you is something you may or may not have a use for depending upon your situation. It's called the breakout room feature. It's that one I told you to go ahead and check that box even if you're not going to use it, just so you have the option. I think of two ways this breakout room thing can be useful. Number one, you are a co-teacher, whether it be ESE or Gen Ed. There's two of you that work together with the same group of kids. ELL, doesn't matter. You do a chat together with your 35 students. You can then manually separate the class. So I can send Jonathan, my ESE co-teacher, into one room with the 7 kids who are ESE, and he can work with them individually. And then I can keep the other 28 kids with me in the bigger room. That's a scenario you might use this for. You might also use it if you have a paraprofessional working with you or another resource person from the school that wants to pull out a few kids and work with them individually in your class. Whatever scenario that is for you guys. I would be cautious about using this with the students without an adult in the room to monitor them. And I'm going to put you guys in a room in just a moment to see how that works. First of all, this option here allows me to choose a number of rooms I want, so I can make it as few as 2, as many as 50. Automatic means Zoom will put you in rooms automatically. Now there's 170 something of you, so I'm going to do that automatically today, not manually. And then I click create breakout rooms. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get out of my share. And I'm going to show you the breakout room feature. I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms. When I do that, you will find out that when you get in there, you are able to go ahead and unmute your own microphone. You can unmute your own microphone and have a conversation with your colleagues. You can also enable sharing, such as the virtual whiteboard or anything else. So I'm going to send you there now, and I'm going to open all rooms, and here you guys go. I'll pop into a few of them.
Morning.
Hello, breakout room 1.
All right, we're here.
Hi guys, see I can pop in and out of any breakout room, so that's a really good thing for me. I'm going to go to another one. I'll see you guys back soon.
Good morning.
Room 2.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi guys. Hi
Good
Gateman.
morning. Hello.
All right, I'm leaving you guys. I'll be back.
Like your screen.
Hello, breakout room 3.
Hello.
I see somebody figure out how to share. Fantastic. That's great. All right, I'm going to leave you guys. I'll be back. We're going to call you back in a few minutes. Hello, breakout room 11.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
How you guys doing? All right?
We don't know how to type on the whiteboard.
You should have a text icon in your annotate.
Oh, there it is.
If you want your name on
A text icon in my
All right, I'm
email.
gonna bring you guys back now. All right, welcome back, everybody. So that's the breakout room feature. And again, just so you're aware of it and you know how it works, this is the window I see when you guys are in the breakout rooms. And notice it gives me the option to join them or leave them. Again, I would not put students in a room by themselves, but if you do have a co-teacher and want to be able to do that and stay in the same chat, that will be the feature for using the breakout rooms, that opportunity there. Notice I also have the option to close. And this is all in that breakout room button that was down here in the bottom of my page. Last thing is recording. Remember we talked about we're going to record chats, so I'm recording every chat I do and putting them on YouTube for you guys. If you record your chats, your computer will save them in a folder called Documents, Zoom, and notice it does it by date and time. So this is the webinar I did a couple days ago. It saves for you 3 files that are important: the audio only of the file, the chat in a text document, and then the Zoom webinar, which would be in a MP4. Now, if you know what MP4 is, no big deal. It's a universal video file. It's easily uploadable to YouTube. It's easily uploadable anywhere you want. If you want to post videos for your students, you can do one of the following things. One, you can do a Zoom chat with no audience. Don't invite anybody. Just go in there, open it up, and it'll give you that same blank screen. You can do anything you want. Once you're done recording it, you can upload it to YouTube. I recommend doing a professional account separate from any personal account for those kinds of videos. Then you can take the link and paste it into Edsby. You can paste it the same place you did the link to join the chat. You can put it right in here and click share. And so let's say you're doing a math lesson that might apply to all of your classes or 4 of your classes. You could put that in here and tell which class you wanted to post it to. If you decide to do a video with students in it, do make sure their cameras are off if you're going to record and post those videos. Again, I recommend you record any video you do with kids regardless, but obviously do not post their faces onto YouTube or anywhere else. You can attach files in Edsby, but I know we all know Edsby's had some issues lately in doing stuff. It's just overtaxed with all the workload we've put on it. So, but I've never seen YouTube have a slowdown in sharing videos. They have plenty of capacity on there for this piece. So I've put all my videos on YouTube. I'm going to bring you guys back into the main room. I'm going to stop my recording. I'm going to give you guys a